What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? The answer backs are back after sweeping the Atlanta Braves. Was that the best D-backs win all season long?
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing that D-backs comeback against the Braves. Was it the best win of the season? And then it's Mailbag Friday, answering your guys' questions like, would you trade Paul Skenes for Corbin Carroll? So a whole bunch I want to talk to you guys about on today's podcast. But first, I want to say thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners. Sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. But now let's jump into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's discuss the best D-backs win of the season. I posed it as a question when doing the tease, but I'm going to go out there and say it. I think this was the best D-backs victory all year long. And the main reason is because the D-backs, well, I guess you could say the Braves out D-backed the D-backs, because typically we've seen the D-backs a ton this season, right? Have 6-run leads, go into the late innings, and then the bullpen absolutely melts down. We've seen so many 5 to 7-run leads, 4-run leads completely be evaporated by this D-backs bullpen. But today, it was the D-backs offense and their bullpen that flipped its head or flipped its script upside down, whatever the phrase is, because the D-backs did something they don't typically do. Down 6 runs entering the ninth, largest comeback in franchise history when entering the ninth inning. 6+ runs. D-backs score 7th in the ninth, and they make the comeback against the Braves. They sweep the series. They own the tiebreaker against the Braves now, and now the D-backs start the month of June 4-0, coming off a terrible month of May. Bad vibes all season long, but like we said, June last year was the month where the D-backs turned it around. They were 27-32 entering June. They went 16-11 in the month of June, and then their season started to turn around. So far for the D-backs, same script. Couple games below 500 entering June. Now we're starting off 4-0. Let's try to go for a better record than 16-11 this month. But if the D-backs can do that, they'll be right back in the mix for one of those wild cards, which is something, when thinking about the D-backs this season, I've been pretty consistent that this is not a playoff team with the way their bullpen pitches and some of their managerial decisions. But if this is the D-backs team that we get going forward, where you got great pitching from your 2 frontline starters and Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, the 2 mainstays in your rotation over the last half decade, if those guys are back to looking like that dynamic 1-2 duo with the most, with one of the most dynamic offenses in baseball as well, especially when you think the D-backs the last couple of years, one of their calling cards, and the D-backs in like the first month of their season this year, one of their calling cards, one of their identities the last couple of years has been the answer backs and making comebacks. And it doesn't matter how much you're down, you always feel like you're in it with this offense. And in 2023, we're talking about the chaos and the havoc, the comebacks was the other part of that. The D-backs were like, I think they finished top 3 in Major League Baseball in comebacks after like the 7th inning, 23. Last year, this D-backs team was also fantastic in comeback victories. Go look at the D-backs offense numbers, late game situations. Go look at Ketel Marte's numbers in the 9th inning. This was a team that thrived in the clutch last year. And then even in 2025, if you go listen to the podcast the first 3 weeks of the season, one thing that I always hammer was resiliency for this team because it always felt like we were down early in games and then made the comeback in the sixth, seventh, and eighth inning. But then when that bullpen started to really falter over the last month, we didn't see as many comebacks. Well, we did, but is it a comeback if your team doesn't win? Because the D-backs would be down a bunch of runs, retake the lead, and then the bullpen wouldn't shut the door and deliver the D-backs a victory. And I was kind of scared that was going to happen this finale because I didn't know who was going to come out the pen. We assumed maybe Shelby Miller was healthy and going to be ready, but I didn't know for certain. And so for the D-backs to score 7 runs in that ninth inning, take the lead, it still felt like, oh, we got to rely on the bullpen now to deliver us a victory in a 1-run game. I had no faith in Arizona actually winning that game, considering how the bullpen has looked all season. It felt like it was going to be another one of those games where the D-backs get teased, or at least their fans get teased, because you have this 7-run comeback only to lose in the ninth inning. But that did not happen. D-backs bat around in the ninth, and then they shut the door at Shelby Miller. Does he make it a little nerve-wracking? Yes, because that's what he has to do. He has to put a couple guys on. He has to, make you sweat it out a little bit. But at the end of the day, Shelby Miller delivers a save for the D-backs. D-backs bat around in the ninth inning. And it's so funny because the inning started with a Eugenio Suarez strikeout. And if you just go through the log in the ninth inning, it's insane because it starts with that Suarez strikeout, who, again, we'll talk about him in a second because he might be making a case for the All-Star game. Then it goes Lourdes Gurriel home run, Lourdes Gurriel, and you're like, okay, it's still a 10-5 game here. Then Tim Tawa walks, and then Alek Thomas home run, who's had a great game. Then Jose Herrera walks, Corbin Carroll double. Then Marte reaches, then you get a Perdomo pop out, unfortunately. You're down to your last out. Vargas comes through with a single, and then Suarez doubles to restart the inning and gives the D-backs a lead. Suarez looks like he's making a case for the All-Star game because we know he's been the clutchest D-back player at runner scoring position this season, one of the home run leaders in the National League. Ketel Marte, he had another great game. He has like a 18-game on-base streak, I think. His slash line, 292, 422, 606 after leaving today's game. I was nervous because after Fott left the game and I saw Tommy Henry was coming in, I was like, I don't like Tommy Henry. I would have liked Christian Mena to come in because if Mena came in, I felt like the D-backs being down 3 runs with the way their offense looked, I felt like the D-backs were going to come back in this game, but that was with Mena on the mound. Once I saw Tommy Henry come in and he started giving up home runs left and right, I thought the game was going to be over. But thankfully, the D-backs' resiliency was able to come through. The answer back showed up, delivered the D-backs a huge series victory. I still would have liked to see Christian Mena. We didn't see it, but it's okay. What I didn't like, though, Brandon Pfaadt, what has happened to him? Is Pfaadt broken? D-backs need to get in the lab and figure out what is wrong with Pfaadt, because the fact that he has regressed to this point after looking so good the first month of the season is a major problem for Arizona. 74 pitches through 3 innings, just not good enough, and just completely imploded in that third inning. So D-backs need to figure out what is wrong with Brandon Pfaadt. But you get the series victory, you got the season tiebreaker, you got a series sweep, you're on a 4-game winning streak. Vibes are finally up for the Arizona D-backs. And now we'll discuss and answer your guys' questions on today's Mailbag Friday in segment number 2. But first, I want to talk to you guys about FanDuel because the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is the same-game parlay. Whenever I see the D-backs are playing, especially a bad team, I take especially when there's Merrill Kelly on the mound, I'm taking the D-backs money line, the D-backs over on runs, and the under on runs for the opposing team. When that three-leg hits, it brings a big smile to my face. If you want a big smile on your face, visit FanDuel.com. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's discuss and answer some of your guys' questions on today's Mailbag Friday. And this first question is a fun one by Jack-V2G3L. Very interesting name there, Jack. He says, hypothetical. If the Pirates called you and you were the GM, would you accept a Paul Skenes for Corbin Carroll trade straight up? This is a fantastic question and got me really wondering. Skenes for Carroll, who is the better value? Who would you rather have on your team? Because both of these guys are, super young and as elite as you can get at their respective positions. I mean, Corbin Carroll has over the 900 OPS. He's on track to lead the league in triples, maybe have, close to 40 home runs, maybe still over 30 stolen bases. Like, he's going to finish probably top 5 in MVP voting. Meanwhile, Paul Skenes is probably going to finish top 5 in Cy Young voting, if not win the award. And so for a guy who's 23 in Skenes, a guy who's 24 in Corbin Carroll, both guys elite at their positions, who would you rather have? I think this question comes down to the franchises, the makeup of the rosters, and do you think it raises the ceiling of your team? Because for the Pirates, I don't know why the Pirates would do it. Trading Skenes for Corbin Carroll, I mean, you're still a bad franchise. Now you just have an everyday position player to put in your lineup for a bad team instead of having a Cy Young candidate every fifth day for your team. So I don't think it really changes their metrics. But for the D-backs, Paul Skenes in the rotation instead of Corbin Carroll, that definitely changes the math equation on the D-backs. And I think the biggest question is, do I still have the same D-backs team? Like, is it this roster and I'm just literally swapping those two out? Because if that's the question, it's a little bit more complicated because now I look at the D-backs rotation and it's like, yeah, Paul Skenes is in there with Corbin Burns and Merrill Kelly, but then is Erod still in the rotation? Like, do we have Kelly, Gallen, Burns, Skeen, Fott? Erod, that's 6 guys. And now Ryan Nelson just back into the bullpen. If you're telling me Erod is not on the team, if you're telling me I could build the perfect rotation of current D-back starters and get rid of the Erods of the world and just go with Skenes, Kelly, maybe Skenes, Kelly, Burns, Gallen, Fott, and just go with that 5. Or maybe I take out one of those guys and go with Ryan Nelson instead. Like, if I can choose the rotation from the D-backs current staff, then I might think about the trade. But does it really help the D-backs that much? Because yes, the ceiling of the rotation would be better and you would have the best rotation in Major League Baseball. I mean, just Burns, Skenes, and Kelly, that would be the best trio. And then if Gallen or Fott, if one of those guys can pop and be good, like, that would be the best quattro in Major League Baseball. But would the offense be okay without Corbin Carroll? When you look at the lineup and what Corbin Carroll provides, would you just trust if it went like Ketel Marte, Perdomo, Lourdes Gurriel, Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez? Like, would the D-backs still have enough production in their lineup? Or do you need that Corbin Carroll bat? Because if you're asking me if it's our current franchise, I think I would stay with what we already have because the D-backs have done a great job of adding pieces in the rotation through free agency. Now, it hasn't always worked out with the Mad Bums, the Montes, the Erods, but the D-backs have shown you it's easier to go out there and sign someone that's supposed to be a big time free agent pitcher on the market than probably it is to get a position player. And so I think I would rather keep Corbin Carroll. I think position players also last longer. I think I have a longer career. I think Skenes potentially could raise the ceiling maybe of your team more because I do think an elite starting pitcher is so valuable. Having him every 5th day with the Burns, with the Kelly, like, you're essentially giving up no runs when those 3 guys start. But considering the long-term ramifications, Corbin Carroll's already on a team-friendly contract. I think I would stay with Corbin Carroll for now as when thinking about this trade, I think I would keep Corbin Carroll over Paul Skenes because I think the current makeup construction of this D-backs franchise is better with Carroll. D-backs have had recent success signing free agent pitchers, and so I would lean Carroll over Skenes. But for the Pirates, I think I would stay with Paul Skenes. Why trade him? He's a huge star. He's a big name. He's a face of a franchise. I think I would be happy to keep him. Now, if you're asking me, would I trade anything outside of Corbin Carroll to get Paul Skenes? I would definitely do that. Lawler, Moreno, Perdomo. You could have anyone you want. You can have a combination of guys. As long as I can keep Corbin Carroll and add Paul Skenes to the roster, I would definitely do that. And so I wouldn't do Corbin Carroll for Paul Skenes, but I would do any combination of anybody else for Paul Skenes from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, the next question is from Johnny225. He says, will Erod kill the win streak? And that's a loaded question to ask because I can't predict the future. Erod is supposed to be making his return, I think, on Friday against the Cincinnati Reds. And so we'll see if he ends up killing the D-backs win streak. But the D-backs showed us today they do still have resiliency. They still have that backbone, and their bullpen from time to time can pull it out. Their offense from time to time can pull it out as well. And so, yes, Erod is coming back with an ERA over 7 for Friday's game against the Cincinnati Reds. I would like to believe it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter if he pitches well or not, but like we saw today, you can give up 10 runs, be down 6 entering the ninth, and still pull out a victory. I'm not saying that is the best formula for success, but I think the D-backs might be turning a little bit of a corner here in the month of June. And if that's true, yes, we do want good Erod, but I don't know if good Erod is going to make or break whether the D-backs win their game against the Cincinnati Reds on Friday. And so I'm not going to say if Erod is going to kill our win streak or not, because it might not come down to Erod. Erod might give up 4 or 5 earned runs. We might bring in a Christian Mena after that who shuts it down for 3 innings, and the D-backs go on to score 7 runs as a team and win the ball game. All I'm seeing from Erod is I need improvement. Don't go out there and have a blow up, one of those Brandon Pfaadt 8 earned runs without recording an out. Don't do that. If you go 4 2/3 and 4 earned runs, I would take that. If you still have your little strikeout numbers because you've been a good strikeout pitcher in 2025, if you could still do that in your return, I would take that. Erod, he's had some games where he hasn't been great, but still have been able to battle. If we could have one of those 5 innings, 3, 4 earned run performances where he just keeps us in the ball game. That's all we really need against the Cincinnati Reds. D-backs still have one of the better offenses in the National League. And so we don't need elite Erod. We just need stable, average Erod, and the D-backs will have a chance to start Game 1 against the Reds with a victory on Friday. Now we'll answer some more of your guys' questions in segment number 3. And also, I want to talk to you guys about Just Ingredients because when it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Just visit justingredients.us/Bryce Harper and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off your first order. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. Welcome back to the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's wrap up the pod with a couple more of your guys' questions on today's Mailbag Friday. This one is from D-backs Bullpen Believer. He says, can Sal Frank have a renaissance? If you guys didn't hear, Andrew Sal Frank suspended all of the last year because he was betting on games. sometimes he was betting on D-backs games. Now, the reports and investigations say he didn't bet on any games he appeared in. He might have been down in Reno saying, hey, I know my boy Ryan Nelson's pitching today. Let me put some money on him. So, yes, it's still maybe some insider illegal stuff. You can't do that, Andrew Saalfrank. But Saalfrank is someone who was kind of a revelation in that 2023 season, just like the Ryan Thompsons and like a lot of these random waiver wire guys that we just find. I mean, Saalfrank wasn't a waiver wire guy, but one of those just late additions. You call him up, and it's like, oh, this guy all of a sudden going to be one of our most important relievers, and he was for the playoff run. He was our second, probably go-to lefty reliever in the D-backs bullpen. Incredible down the stretch, 10 innings, no earned runs. Came into 2024, was a little shaky. I don't think he won the job out of camp, and then didn't pitch great in his 2 appearances, but Saalfrank is one of the only like decent lefties that the D-backs have in their system as a back-end reliever. We have no Joe Mantiply. He's done. We still have Jalen Beeks on the roster, but it feels like he's starting to regress, come back to earth a little bit. Saalfrank is in this position where he's coming back off the suspension, hasn't faced live hitters in so long, but if he can come back, find his groove, and look good in the minors, Saalfrank is someone that we kind of need in terms of his archetype as a pitcher, lefty, sinker ball kind of a guy, can get some ground ball out. The D-backs need that kind of lefty. We're missing that Joe Mantiply kind of a person in our bullpen right now, and Tommy Henry just doesn't have it as a long reliever. He just doesn't have it overall. I've been out on Tommy Henry ever since his rookie season because, guys, I do not believe in pitchers who are 25 years old and can't throw more than 90 miles per hour. Tommy Henry looks like a good guy, looks like a good fella, has got good head on his shoulders, great personality, but career 5.03 ERA, bad strikeout numbers, high walk rate, and gives up a ton of contact. I'm out on Tommy Henry. That's why we need a guy like Andrew Saalfrank to come back and look good in the minor leagues because the D-backs are kind of missing a guy like Saalfrank in their bullpen. They need another lefty with AJ Puck on the injured list, Jalen Beeks being a little bit more shaky down the stretch. Saalfrank, another lefty, is someone that the D-backs could desperately use in their bullpen right now, and we saw him pitch so well down the stretch in 2023 for the D-backs, and even in the postseason of 2023, he was pretty solid as well. He had in the NLCS, he had like one outing where he gave up a couple earned runs, but outside of that, he was pretty nails for the D-backs in 23 postseason and definitely down the stretch in the regular season. So that's a guy, if he can come back, start to get back into form, get back into his groove, the D-backs can use him. We know how bad this D-backs bullpen is right now. We just DFA'd Scott McGough, thankfully, because I've never seen a guy get more opportunities despite doing absolutely nothing with them than Scott McGough. How many times did we bring him back? I don't even know, but Saalfrank is someone that we could definitely use considering we still have Tommy Henrys and the Jeff Bighams and the D-backs bullpen. I like Juan Murillo. He might not be ready for prime time yet. Christian Mena, I love, but the D-backs don't really want to use him as a back-end reliever. And so, Saalfrank, there's an opportunity for you. The job is there for your taking. You just have to go out there and earn it. Final question on this podcast from Jeff55. He says, which D-backs player could get the most return if we traded them? This is a fun question because there's a couple ways you can answer this. D-backs have a few pending free agents. You got Naylor, Suarez, Gallen, Merrill Kelly. Like, there are some dudes that could get you a return if you put them on the trade block. And I really think it depends what another team needs. Josh Naylor, 28-year-old first baseman, high contact guy, decent power, good in clutch situations. Eugenio Suarez, low average, high strikeouts, but going to finish top 5 probably in home runs and RBIs and great in clutch situations. Zach Gallen, talk about betting on upside, and let's see if a change of scenery could do something for you because he's having a terrible year, but clearly talented and easily someone that you could convince yourself if he can come in our building and we could get him right. That is a frontline starter we just added. And then Merrill Kelly, you could say, yeah, he's a little bit older, but shown no signs of slowing down. Like that might be the most underrated pitcher in baseball. We might be able to add a number 2 starter with a couple years left for virtually nothing. And so I think it depends what another team wants, what position they're in. I assuming if you're trading for one of these guys, you're trying to win right now. And that's why I believe the guy that would actually return the most value, despite him having the worst season, is probably Zach Allen, because I just think finding a frontline starter and the fact that he's actually having a down season, I think could entice teams, because if they wanted to sign Zach Allen this offseason, you could get him in the building, prove to him that you know what you're doing. If he starts looking good for you guys, that probably helps you re-sign him in the offseason. Then because he's having a down season, probably could come in at a lower price tag as well. And so I would still say Zach Allen, who has the best track record in the last few years of being like the highest valued player among that group, I would say he could return the most value. But I also wouldn't sleep on Josh Naylor being a first baseman in your prime that could have some pop and hit for contact. Yes, his defense is a little bit shaky, but I would not sleep on Josh Naylor at all. He's also a guy that's not very expensive right now. You wouldn't have to pay him a lot of money in 2025. I think that matters to these teams. They don't like to have high bills. We know baseball teams are a little bit cheap. And so I think Zach Allen and Josh Naylor would be the two that could get you the most return back in terms of value. But I think Kelly and Suarez would be the two guys that teams would want the most. I don't think they would get us the best return, but I think those are the two teams that other teams would go after the most, because I think it's easiest to fit a guy like Suarez or Kelly into your team. And so that's who I think would net the best return for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But at the end of the day, I'm just a guy behind a microphone, behind his computer, watching and talking baseball. That's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back next week for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Deuces.